This is another limited 700 Classic. This particular one is in 220 Swift caliber. Probably the Classics are part of what got me interested in starting on the 700 book to begin with. I started on the book in 1987, and the 757 Mauser we looked at earlier, that come out in 1981. So I was already the owner of several of the limited classic guns before I started on the book. This rifle was built in the early 90s. Again, was built 1 year in the 220 Swift caliber. This is a very high velocity, relatively high pressure round that I had discussions with Remington at the time of bringing this gun out as one of the limited calibers. And finally, after a lot of discussion and thought, there was some concern with the pressures with this cartridge, but eventually the powers to be relented and made the 220 Swift Limited Classic 700. The 700 Classic first come out in 1978, and I like the looks and feel of that gun from the very beginning. The first one I owned was a 6mm Remington. I'd done quite a bit of varmint hunting with that rifle, and the early rifles had sights on the barrel. For someone that always uses a scope, personally I'd rather not have sights on the barrel. They'll hang up in the brush. They're in the way. The gun doesn't look as nice cosmetically. So when the limited classics come out, most of those came, unless it was a caliber that was intended as a brush rifle, then they didn't have sights on the barrel. So I like that feature of not spending the money and having the extra baggage of sights on the barrel. So I was into collecting the 700 Classics early on during their production history, and still own a number of Classics and still hunt with most of those.